Hello, my people. Thank you for joining us tonight. I hope you're having a lovely night. Can I get I'm having a lovely night in the chat, please? Make me feel
Hello,
validated.
hello.
Legit, though. I hope you're having a good day. I am joined by the fabulous SlumberReads, as always.
Fabulous.
Dude, you're fabulous, man. You've got
I'm
fabulous hair. I'm sure you
totes
have
fab.
fabulous skin. I want
Compliments are rolling out, man. Now I'm in a good mood. I was having a bad day, but now that I know that I'm fabulous, it's like all on the up and up now.
your skincare routine is probably on point.
You
I'm
know, I don't
jealous.
I don't have a skincare routine. Like I just wash my face with body soap in the shower.
I mean, that's I think what everyone should do. So
Yeah,
you're
like
on
I
the
don't
right
know. I mean,
track.
I've just always been lucky that way, but
Lucky to have soap that you can put on your face.
yeah, no, I've just never dealt with acne.
Seriously?
Never. I could probably count on one hand like how many pimples I've gotten.
My gosh.
Humble brag.
Humble brag. For some reason, you remind me of like the angel from the Philly cream cheese commercial. Like
I don't know
that's
what you're talking about, but it sounds
oh.
fucking hilarious.
Anyways, just like Philly cream cheese, and there's an angel, and well, I guess it doesn't really matter, but yeah. uh, anyways, so on number 10 of the Dark Sessions podcast, the episode 10. Dude, it's episode 10. Um,
Double digits.
double
We've been here for
digits.
a while now.
Yeah, legit. 2.5 months. My math checks out, I think. Um, Today we're going to be talking about self-doubt and imposter syndrome slash judging yourself. This isn't necessarily specific to content creating because it doesn't matter what you do, whether you blog, whether you draw, whether you ride a bike, take photographs. It can apply to everything that that you put your time into. You can and often will suffer with self-doubt. So that's one thing that I have suffered with particularly muchly. And I thought, hey, you know what? Let's talk about it a little bit on this Friday night.
Yeah, I really like this topic too because it kind of branches more into just like real life stuff. You know what I mean?
It's the
Instead of
real
just
crap here.
the niche, it's like we're branching out into something that I think everybody could relate to at one point or another.
Oh my gosh, dude, I live with this imposter. I suffer with it for like literally everything I do. It doesn't matter if I think I'm good at it. It doesn't matter if I think I suck at it. It's there all the same. That's one of the hardest things I find to actually deal with and get through that I can recall. I think it's probably the hardest thing. But we will break out of the podcast or the I guess the horror community, podcasting, YouTubing sort of thing, and talk a little bit broadly, a little bit more broadly about this. But Slumber,
Like
I'd like,
those late night deep life conversations.
you know what? Let's do a deep life conversation. So let me break the fourth wall right now, and something I haven't done, but you know what? Let's do it. Um, for those of you listening on the podcast right now, we're going a little bit sideways here, and Slumber has no idea what I'm doing, which makes it fun. But we're
Uh-oh.
kind of gonna break the
I'm
fourth
scared.
wall, and if you have dealt with imposter syndrome, if you have struggled with it, whether you're writing, in our case, narrating, it doesn't matter what you do, but if you tried to put your hand at something, and if you tried something and struggled with self-doubt, whether you're thinking you're not good enough, that you should just quit, that people are going to find out that you don't actually know what you're doing, at least that's what you tell yourself, and that you should just throw in the towel. I want to know what your story is. So let us know in the chat. And if you're listening on the podcast, I'll read out what people are saying so you have at least some sort of context. And I hope that maybe we can share our stories. So We'll be a little bit more interactive, I think, Slumber, with chat during this time as it pertains to the topic. Um, I think that might be
Yeah, I
might
like that
switch it up
idea.
a bit.
I like
So
that idea a lot. Yeah, I mean, it's something that I think can. I mean, we've already said it. It can traverse into pretty much anything. I remember when I was really into BMX, still am to some extent, but when I was really into it, I always tried to make my style as far away from my friends as I could. Like if they learned a trick, it's like I didn't want to learn that trick. I would want to learn something else and then come back to that trick later on. And it's because I didn't want to feel like an imposter. I didn't want them to think I was copying them,
mm,
which I think in that case is silly, right? But I had the same thing coming into narration, especially early on. I was always trying to find topics that weren't done often, but then you kind of find yourself in this thing where you're not doing the popular topics and you're having a harder time growing unless you get lucky on one of the uh, side topics.
yeah.
Um, it's tough, man, because you want to be seen as an individual, but at some point there's got to be a crossover. Like if you're in the same community as somebody else, you're going to be doing something similar whether you like it or not.
Yeah, and I think that comes the swings a little bit back towards our last episode that we did, or one of them, where you compare yourself to others in your field, right?
Yep.
And then you try to maybe separate from them because if people listen to their channel and then listen to yours and they go, hey, wait a minute, you guys are doing the same thing. And then when you get thought, or then when you get figured out that you might be copying so and so, then you start doubting what you're doing. And then you start worrying about, well, if they noticed it and now I'm seeing it, how many more people are noticing that and just not saying anything? And then it just
Yeah, I
starts to
remember
cycle, right? And cycle
it was
back on
probably
itself.
like yeah, this was probably like 3 or 4 months ago. I did this story and I spent a long time narrating it, a long time making the thumbnail. Well, it turns out the day before somebody else had uploaded the same story and we actually used the same image for the thumbnail.
Oh man, no
Uh
kidding.
yeah, dude, it was the strangest thing. Like we just went to the same place to try and find a thumbnail. We both like the same one, I guess. So then people were in the comments like, "Oh, you copied so and so. You even used this thumbnail." And I'm like, I didn't copy him, but that's crazy. Like it literally did happen like that. And then 2 weeks later, with the same creator, the exact same thing happened again. And I just threw my hands up in the air. I was like, this guy's gonna think I'm copying him. Like there's
I've got to
like how does
message
that
him.
happen? Like how does this happen twice? You know what I mean? So yeah, I actually did message him and he's like, no, I didn't even notice. Like, you're good, dude. He's like, He's like, "Yeah, you go here for your thumbnails, right?" And I'm like, "Yep." He's like, "Yeah, I mean, there wasn't very many good images, so it makes sense that we use the same one." And it's like, "Okay, well, I'm glad you don't think that because it's like just by chance the same thing happened twice."
Did you like start to get worried about what other people might be thinking in terms of like people viewing your channel or other narrators or
Yeah, to some extent because like I said, I try really hard to just do my own thing, which you can only do so much in this community, especially if you're reading stories mainly from No Sleep.
oh,
I
yeah,
it's
the
it's
overlap's going to be
very
crazy.
oh, yeah, like, it's so hard to stand out, but, I always try and seek out the stories with less upvotes that deserve more, you know what I mean? And, I do little things along those lines constantly to try and make sure that I'm not telling the same stories as other people, to make sure that I'm just doing my own thing, even down to just the narration. I will say the music that I use is pretty popular, but I really like the music, so I'm not changing it. But
Where do you find your
uh,
music? Can you divulge
I
that?
I mostly I mostly use music from Mew and Lucas King.
You and Lucas
Mew and
King.
Lucas King. Yep. Well, not mostly. I solely use music from them.
Oh,
They're both really talented, and uh, they totally support people using their music as long as they're credited, of course. So.
do you have a link for that
Yeah, I can
potentially?
I can give you a link right after this stream.
Perfect. Perfect. because I definitely need new music. I'll tell you that much.
Yeah, you've never looked into Mew before?
No,
Oh man, super talented. Super, super, super talented.
well, I look forward to hearing that. You in
He
my shop.
most of his music is centered around horror theme as well, so
Ooh,
it's perfect.
talk dirty to
And then
me.
he's got some slower tracks that are a little bit more like build uppy. He's got some that are like in the moment action type. Like it's really good.
So you can like mix and match and create a cinematographic cinema
Cinnamon.
cine. Oh my gosh. You-
Yeah, I see Miss Mad Hat in the chat. She's like, "What midnight? Mew is king." I'm really shocked that you've never heard of Mew as well. That's a legend
I'm a
right there.
sheltered child, yo.
Legend. Like
Well,
I
now,
I'm in disbelief, but I'm not gonna shame you. I'll let it slide. I'm just
thanks.
a little bit shocked is all.
I've just been sticking to my fire crackling and my thunderstorms. That's about it.
There ain't nothing wrong with that.
Uh, Gets a little bit boring sometimes. It has its place, but um, yeah. So that imposter syndrome, man. I think the biggest, I think the biggest moment in my life, and this isn't just one singular moment. It's a string of continuous moments that happen to this day. Um, is in my web development career, as you all know. That I am a web developer, and so because I don't have a formal education in it, I haven't had a job in it where I've gotten paid necessarily from a company. I do make money um, from Patreon, which is just beyond amazing, and that's the only real thing that I've gotten paid for. So when I get on Twitter and I see everyone talking about this, that, and the other thing as it relates to programming and the ins and outs of technology in that sense, and when I feel like I can't really contribute because I don't know all of the terminology, that just hits me so hard. Everything that you can imagine that comes along with imposter syndrome, self doubt, judging yourself, you're like, if I try to get involved in this conversation, everybody's going to know that I actually don't know what I'm talking about. But the funny thing with that is, and I don't know if it's with the same with you or anyone else, but that tends to be just you. They might, or likely aren't thinking that at all, but that's what you're telling yourself. And then it
You're always
spirals
gonna be your
into,
own worst critic.
yeah, and it just keeps spiraling into this descent into madness and self doubt because you think, hey, I can't do X like they can. I can't do Y like they can. I'm not actually what I think I am. And that happens even still with doing YouTube. Not like I will admit not to the same degree because like with YouTube, I know I'm good and I know I'm getting better, but there's just so much in programming and so many different methodologies and technologies that anything can change. You can do it a million different ways. And 99% of those ways might be right, but it doesn't matter. You're always comparing yourself. You're always like trying to measure up, trying to judge yourself compared to others. And man, that's just like that hits you right in the soul.
Yeah,
But
I mean, it's like you can be doing something like I've been doing narration for years and years now. I and I see somebody just kind of hop in and blow up right away. And it's like I'm happy for them. Don't get me twisted. I am happy for them. I'm glad that that happened for them. But then I sit there and wonder like what am I doing wrong?
mm-hmm.
Why hasn't that happened for me?
Oh
Is
man,
it is it
yeah.
something as simple as like my tags and titles? Is it because I suck? Is it because of this? Is it because of that? I think about how many views I get in a month versus how much I grow. The crossover isn't even 1%. You know what I mean? And it's like is it because they watch my videos and they don't enjoy it, so nobody subs? Like, am I just that bad? I but I don't know, you can't be thinking like that because that's where self-doubt comes in, and it can be pretty toxic.
That's me on a daily basis, man. And a lot of the thoughts is, well, maybe everyone who watches is just trying to be nice, and maybe I just suck. And I think about that a lot. But that's, I don't know of anybody who would be doing this type of thing that and it doesn't even have to be like uploading to YouTube, like literally anything, who doesn't deal with that. And I don't know if there's even a real cure for getting over it. I think you can do things that make it easier. Like you can stay it off, whatever. You can put it at bay a bit easier, but trying to just get rid of it, I don't think ever happens. The only thing I could really think of is maybe like if you were somehow inhuman and didn't compare yourself to anybody. I mean, ultimately that'd be great. Like, could you imagine if we didn't follow anyone on Twitter and we didn't listen to other narrators on YouTube? We'd have nothing to reference to, so I would almost guarantee we wouldn't deal with self-doubt. But then you start
Yeah,
adding
but
other people in. Huh?
would our productivity be as good though? Because
Well,
I don't know.
that's a personal thing.
Yeah, well, the first like here's a good example. The first couple years that I was doing narration, I did not talk to other narrators. It's not that I avoided them. It's not anything like that. I just always felt like an outcast. I never reached out to anybody. Very, very, very few people reached out to me, but it was never anything like deep. You know what I mean? It might just be like a follow on Twitter and um, you know, good work on the channel type of thing.
Yep.
It wasn't until I started to really mesh into the community to some extent, of course, and start conversing with people. Um, there was kind of what you were talking about, but self doubt was already there. It was there before all of that, and
That's
maybe that's
interesting.
just me comparing to other creators and other niches.
Hmm.
You might be seeing a gaming YouTuber blowing up and then wondering why you're not blowing up doing what you're doing when there's no crossover there. It's not really much to compare to.
Yep.
But
Be a
when
bit
I started
silly.
to become close with other narrators, and especially close with people that had like a really high productivity, like I'll just use Swamp Dweller as an example because he's a good friend of mine.
He's a good
Um,
guy.
yeah, he's a great guy. He was uploading like every other day, and I saw that and I was like, I want to be able to keep up with him. I don't want to do what he's doing. I don't want to steal his shine. I don't want to do anything like that. But seeing what he's doing is motivating to me because now I can look at that and be like, if that's possible, why can't I do it? You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
The two main people that motivated me in that respect were the Creepy Fox and Swamp Dweller, and I will vouch for both of them until the day I die. I love both of those dudes. Just I don't think Creepy Fox really knows what he did for me without doing literally anything. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
But he was uploading like 2 hour long videos a day at one point, and I remember looking at that and I was like, man, that is crazy. And I looked up to him heavily, and I don't say that about people often. I still look up to Creepy Fox like crazy, and just seeing that he was working that hard and getting that level of success made me think, I can bump up my productivity. I can do better. I mean not better than him, better than what I'm currently doing, just to make that clear, just so nobody gets that wrong. But that was my motivation to really, really, really go gung ho with YouTube and start doing as much as I possibly could.
Mm.
And uh, I don't know. I mean, I don't know if that goes into imposter syndrome or if that's just straight up motivation. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I
But
think you've used the community in a bit of a different sense. Like, um, whereas imposter syndrome and self doubt has a higher chance of creeping in when you are able to see what other people are doing. But it seems like while that might still be there to some degree, it seems like you've used it to motivate yourself to an even higher degree. and use it as fuel to put out these daily videos and do whatever you've done in the past, just knowing it's possible by seeing what other people have been doing.
Exactly, exactly. That's the short way of saying what took me like 3 minutes to say, but yeah, I mean, it can be motivating to see somebody else doing well and doing great. And if you can look at that in the healthy aspect, instead of looking at the doubt in yourself, you look at that and you think, "Man, if that's possible, I might not be able to do exactly what they're doing. I might not be able to do it as well as they're doing it, but I can do more, more than what I'm currently at the moment doing."
Yeah.
And I really, I don't know. It's tough to say if my channel would have ever grown the way that it did if those scenarios never would have played out because like I said, that's when I really started working hard and that's when my channel started to actually gain traction was when I started looking at other people and uh decided to work harder as well. So, I don't know.
Yeah, that does make
It's
sense.
interesting.
Like for me, I get a lot of motivation. Um, it kind of comes hand in hand with getting a lot of motivation and then trying to stave off self doubt even harder. When I see people around my level who just explode and have like, get blessed by YouTube or whatever the case may be, and they just pop off. And so when I see them, I'm like, dang, I wish that was my channel. But I also look at it and I'm like, all right, so it's possible to hit that level. It's possible to ride that algorithm train. So what do I gotta do to put myself in a better position? Do I have to upload more? Do I have to maybe include more true scary stories? Do I have to include more um, creepy paramedic stories? Like, what do I got to try? And then you start trying these different things, and it kind of refuels your passion in a way. Not, no, I don't want to say refuels your passion, I guess, because your passion can always be there, even through burnout and stuff like that. But it kind of fuels your drive. You're like, I got to find something. What is it? You're chasing the dragon, that next hit. Although
Exactly.
that's not what you want to make your channel solely about. But it does help when you're a smaller channel to hit that. Even like and that's completely subjective. Like if you're at 5 subscribers and you hit some train and then you bump up to 20, like you're feeling like pretty hot stuff. It's all
Oh,
subjective,
yeah.
but
Yeah, no, I mean, it can be motivation. Like, I've seen people, like, shame others for being happy about hitting 10K subs or something, and it's like, why are you shaming them? Like, you hit 10K subs, it can feel validating to what you're doing because, um at the end of the day, yes, YouTube can be a hobby. Would I still be uploading videos even if nobody was watching? Yes, probably not at the rate that I currently, well, not probably not at the current rate that I do. I absolutely would not be uploading at the rate that I do. But I would still be doing it to some extent. But knowing that there's people that enjoy it, knowing that there's more than just you enjoying it allows you to well, just for me, it allows me to justify the time that I put into it because I know that it's not just about me anymore. It's about, all these people. And that can be really freeing and really nice to just, not I don't know where I'm going with it, to be
you just keep
honest.
going, man. Just keep
Yeah.
going.
But, something that I've seen a lot of people do, and I try not to rag on people for it because to some extent I understand it, and I'm not really one to rag on people. But, when a channel blows up out of nowhere, I've seen people be like, "Oh, why did they blow up? Their narration sucks. You can tell their audio quality isn't even that good, and their background music is too loud, and they're just doing the same thing as everybody else. Why did they blow up?" And it's like, to some extent, I understand it.
Hmm.
You're bitter that it's not you, and I get that. I understand. I don't think it's right to bash on the person blowing up. I don't think that's right at all. But I wish people would look at that and think, "Hey, if they can do it, I can too." Instead
Oh,
of
yeah.
just being bitter about it. It's if somebody blows up and gets 200,000 subscribers in a few months, that is a clue to you that that is possible.
I would
That that
cry.
that that can happen.
Yeah.
If it happened to one person, there is a possibility it could happen to another. And if you put that self-doubt aside and stop being bitter and work hard like that other person did, that person could be you.
Oh man, yeah. That's really kind of what's driving me through this daily upload thing. Um is like just thinking about this could be the moment. This could be the moment that something takes hold and helps me get noticed. But then there's also that other side that's like, well, you put in all this work, what if it doesn't? And then you come to that
Yeah,
critical
but
crossroads where you're like, okay, what voice are you going to believe? Are you going to cave before you even
I
tried?
think
Or are you going to
I think
stick
it's
with it?
better I think it's better to try and fail. Not try to fail, but try and then fail rather than not trying and then wondering what if.
Oh, absolutely. That's one of the things
Imagine
I couldn't live with, dude, is what ifs.
like
F that.
yeah, I mean, like, if something means a lot to you, it's a lot better to know that you put your all into it and it just didn't work out, rather than going the rest of your life thinking back on, man, I used to really be into this thing and it could have been something if I worked really hard. Well, you'll never know because you never put in the work to test if it could.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think more often than not, if you just stick at it, it will eventually um culminate. Culminate? Is that a word?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah,
Yep, yep,
culminate.
yep.
Yeah, okay,
I'm
anyway.
not very good with the English language, man. English is
It's
not
hard. It's
it is.
hard.
Like, I
Um
don't speak anything besides English, and English is still hard to me.
it is. Oh boy. Especially being out of school so long. But uh yeah, so it'll culminate into something bigger. If you just don't quit. Like it might not look like you're going to reach the goal that you're trying to reach, but you'll never reach it if you just stop. And you know what? I could speak for days on that. With like with my weight loss and stuff like that, because being 277 pounds at my heaviest, trying to think that like I'm 239 right now, and trying to picture yourself losing even like 5 pounds, 10 pounds, it seems impossible. And so you look so far ahead that you're more willing to give up before you actually start, instead of breaking down the journey into chunks, breaking down what you're trying to do into chunks, daily uploads, breaking it down to just being a couple videos ahead, a couple videos ahead, couple videos ahead, and just doing that over and over again. But it's easy to say what I'm trying to achieve is way too damn hard, so I'm just going to stop. But if you take it a little bit at a time, a little bit at a time, and you keep moving in the right direction, you'll start whittling that down. But you can't let your view or your sights get too far ahead of you. So you might be down about your numbers or whatever. And you know what? You have every right to feel that way. I think we all feel that way at some point about one thing or another.
Oh,
But
yeah, definitely.
when you get to that point where you start really doubting yourself and doubting whether or not you should continue to do this, I think you need to step back and really analyze why you're doing something, and then take that and think, okay, I love reading stories, working on voice acting, doing narrations. I'm not seeing the numbers that I want to see, but what can I do to get me just a little bit further? Well, you can upload a video on time. That's one thing. You know, if you can upload a video on time and then upload it on time 2 days later, and then 2 days later upload it on time, and you just work at that, you'll keep moving towards that one goal. And that's what I'm trying to get across, is you just got to keep pushing yourself regardless of your self-doubt, regardless of if you think um, other people might figure you out, and air quotes around that. But if you don't quit, you will reach whatever you're going for. um
Oh, yeah, and it can be a very gradual thing.
oh,
In
it
the
is.
whole entire year of 2019, the only thing on my mind was hitting 100K. I'm just gonna be honest, and I think I've said that before. And it took me a long time to realize how toxic that was. And the reason why that was my goal was because I just wanted to achieve something. I was like so down about myself. I just wanted to achieve something, and that's what I set my eyes on. And it was toxic, man. And I hit burnout really, really, really hard. I that's not to say that I didn't still enjoy what I was doing. That's not to say that I don't still appreciate everybody that was viewing the content. It's possible to hit burnout and still enjoy what you do.
Mm-hmm.
Contrary to what a lot of people will say, it's totally, totally possible. I've experienced it where you absolutely love and adore something, but you don't even want to do it anymore because now it just feels like a chore.
Yes,
Uh,
absolutely.
ever since 2020 started, I have taken a step back and I've just worked at my pace. I haven't stressed myself about a video even once. If I'm not feeling well, I'm not uploading. If I'm feeling down, I'm not uploading. I, and it's been very, very freeing. And I've noticed my productivity going up instead of down by thinking like that because it's like I'm no longer pressuring myself. I've sat back and I've been like, hey, this is something I enjoy. This is something that I like. And I'm in a very fortunate position to have other people that enjoy what I do as well.
Mm-hmm.
So why make it a toxic thing? Why not have fun with it? And that's not to say like, I just hit 70K this morning, okay? Literally just this morning. And that's a cool milestone. And you know, a few years ago I'd be freaking out. But now it's like that's cool. That's 70,000 people watching my channel. And I
All
don't really
right,
think
all right,
about it
all
much more
right.
than that. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I and my growth this year hasn't been as good as it was in 2019. I gained 30,000 subs throughout the course of 2019. So far in 2020, I've gained 10K. So it's um, at this current point that would be like 5K less if you want to get into analytics and stuff. And I'm not down about it. I'm not sad about it because I'm having fun. I'm enjoying what I'm doing again, and
Yep.
I think that's just the best way to look at it. Um, and like numbers are still rising, things are still going well, and I, it's just because I'm still working hard, but I'm enjoying it. And I feel like that's transparent through the content.
It's funny how goals are never really set it and forget it type things. They're more long term, like you can have a general overarching goal, but your daily goals, they're never no, I just contradicted myself because daily goals would always be changing. Um, I guess what I'm trying to say, and now that I've completely lost my train of thought, it was like real good, and now it's gone. Um, so I'm just gonna completely forget I even said that, and maybe it'll come back to me. But when you get to that point where, like I said a few episodes ago, when it comes to web development stuff like that, you can definitely love what you do, and hit burnout, and still continue to like it, and just not want to do it. And that doesn't mean you don't like it anymore, but you do have to take that step back, kind of take a breather. Why are you feeling this way? What could you do to alleviate it? Uh, in your case, work on your own schedule, and that's what I did too when it came to web development. Um, as I mentioned before, and I won't go into it in tremendous detail, but I struggled trying to find a job, and I burnt out heavily. I hated I actually did hate web development at one point, and I really was. I took 2 weeks off from doing anything or thinking about anything with websites, and I was like pretty much done. But the defining factor, and I have not enjoyed web development as much as I have since, was when I decided to stop pressuring myself to get a job and just create things because I like to create things. And shortly after that, Redux came about, and I have not enjoyed that as much as I would have before if I didn't decide to working on my own schedule, find out what works for me, and then roll with it. I wanted to also touch on like this whole perspective and like goals thing. Um, it's very important. I think if you're feeling down about what you're doing and down about yourself, it's very important to have a solid end goal, and not even necessarily a be all end all end goal, but just a goal to work towards. So like with my weight loss, so I love to eat and I hated working out. Like you get my heart rate
I
over
feel that.
90 and I hate myself, right? I would rather sit there and have a pizza, and I still do. than do anything remotely physical. But eventually that plagues your mind for a very long time, and then you start to hate yourself. And I'm the kind of guy that would, like, you're going to have a shower, so you take off your shirt. And I'd be the kind of guy that would like look at myself in the mirror and just trash talk the living crap out of myself. I did that for a while. Not to
Oh man.
not to put myself down, but the way that I operate is like in my head I know what I have to do. I have to stop, eating pizza. I have to go for a walk at least once a month. But I would just not do it because of excuses. So when I get real with myself in the mirror and I start like telling myself, like, I legit take off my shirt, about to step into the washroom, look over in the mirror and be like, damn, you're fat. Is that how you're going to be for your whole life? And just go on for like a couple minutes, just look at myself in the eyes and then get into the shower. And that for some reason works. And then I read this book. And prior to reading this book called Can't Hurt Me by David Goggins, if you haven't read it, you should probably read it. My uncle and I were talking about joining the military, which is something I always wanted to do. I admired SWAT, police officers, military, anything like that. Not because they just looked badass, but for what they did and what they stood for and everything like that. And I think in high school, I actually tried to join the military, but I was not in that good of shape. So I didn't make it. But this kind of stuck in my mind. And I kept thinking about it at work. And I started like looking up. It's a funny story. I went onto the Armed Forces website and I started looking up trades. And in the back of my mind, I'm going, oh no. Because like once that seed just gets planted and now you're actually looking into it, you're actually going to pursue that thing, at least in my case.
Yeah, like now it's for real.
Yeah,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
like, oh my gosh, I'm looking it up. I'm actually going to do this. Oh my gosh, what am I doing? So I listened to this book twice and it really hit me in the feels. Made me almost cry a few times driving to work because I'm like, oh, damn, that's me. And coupled that with my dream of wanting to join the military coming alive again, and that book really targeting my insecurities and my thinking and just calling me out on my BS that I was telling myself, I got to work. Now, in terms of goals, my goal is like 239. That's my current weight. I want to be at most 200, and I would be like so happy. Where before, I would used to look at that and be like, damn, all the work that's supposed to go into losing 77 pounds, I don't want to do that at all. Like,
Well, it's because
at
you're
all.
looking at that number instead of
Oh,
being like, let's try and lose 5 this month, and then you know what I mean?
yeah. No, I hated it. And because I would see that and I'm like, well, frig, I'm gonna have to like go big or go home. Let's go run a 20K. And obviously don't do that because you're just gonna burn yourself out. Um, but I realized listening to this book that I was selling myself short on a multitude of things. And I was telling myself excuses to not do the hard things. I would rather skip out on getting physical activity and sit at home and watch Netflix because it was too hard. And so that really brushed up against, or I guess accentuated how I already talked to myself to get me motivated. And I ran with it. And I'm like, okay, so I'm 277 right now. 270. Well, I know. I think it was like 274 at that time in October. Like, I want to join the military. What do I got to do? And then fresh off listening to this book, I think it was like 30 hours of content. Like, okay, well, the thing I got to do is, you know what? I've just got to start running. So I'd wake up 6 o'clock in the morning and I'd go for like a run walk, or that's what I call it, interval running, where I'd walk and then run a power pole, air quotes around run. And I did that for about 2 kilometers. I don't know what that would be for miles, but 1.8 kilometers. And I did that for a week straight every day for about a month. And I was losing like a pound and a half a day, which was crazy. So I was like, okay, just give it a month. Just do this. Give it a month and do it. And you know what? If you really want to quit, sure, you can go for it. That wasn't in my head, but that's what I would tell myself now. Um, and I still do it on my runs. You know, you can quit at that next power line, but then you get there and you ask yourself, can you go another one? You're like, yeah, yeah, I could go another one. And then you do it and you just repeat the cycle. So once that ball started rolling, it gets easier. Once you start getting into a groove and you start setting up a schedule for yourself, and you can apply this to anything in life, anything you want, at least in my opinion, writing, creating,
Oh,
drawing,
absolutely.
anything. Get your overarching goal and now start biting chunks off of it. So for me, like I said, I was running every day. Uh, very, again, quotes around running, but I was getting out there every day and just making sure that if I'm going to do something that's hard, I have to go full in. Like if I know for a fact that I would have quit after the first day because I did it so many times before, and I promise I'll give you room to speak at some point. Um,
Oh, no, you're good, man. Like, I'm vibing.
all right, cool. Um, so, uh, dang, what was I going to say? So I set these little goals, and I started going in not half-assed. Like for me, if I'm going to try something that's hard, I have to do it full on. So that what that looked like for me was waking up at 6 o'clock and going for a run, even though it feels like minus 25 outside and your thighs are frozen and the fat on the side of your torso is frozen and you've got icicles in your beard. And then only to get back and feel like crap. Literally, I, I apologize if this offends anyone, but after my first run, my chest was so tight that every time I breathed, it would hurt like crazy. But when I'd exhale, it sounded like a gaggle of midgets having a laugh in my lungs. And it was wild.
Damn.
Dude, that's the only way I can describe that because it was crazy. So the next thing you know, you you're getting up at 6 o'clock in the morning and you're starting to feel good. You're like, all right, you know what? I'm taking control of my day before the day even starts. I'm doing something that actually matters. I'm doing something that has purpose. I'm doing something that's tough because there's nothing worse than just skating through life doing what's easy. Because then you look back and you're like, well, what are you proud of? Where's the work? Where's the sweat, the tears? And for me, the way I want to look at it is I want to look back and think, you know what? I put in the work. I daily uploaded. I saved my money and paid off my credit card. I saved up money to get a car. I I put in the work every day to at least attempt to lose weight. And I want to look back and be able to say that, yeah, I actually did the hard things because that's not what a lot of people will do. Like people don't, and like for the most part, people don't want to do things that are difficult. But usually the things that are difficult are the most rewarding. And
Yep, yep.
and you just got to do whatever gets you out of bed. And for me, that was reminding myself on literally a daily basis. I listened to this book after I had already listened to it twice. And it's like 15 and a half hours to listen to this audiobook. I listened to it two more times because I just saturated myself with who I wanted to be. Who do you want to be as a writer? Do you want to be like Stephen King-esque or other popular writers? And what does that look like for you? And then run with it. For me, I wanted to be someone who can be proud of himself, can do the hard things, can be physically active. And so I had to do these things that really started getting me on that path. And like I mentioned before, getting up at 6 o'clock and being very deliberate about it, because I know for a fact that if I was like, oh, you know what? I'll just like, okay, so I'm gonna go for a run every day. I'll do it after work, and then yeah, that'll be good. I'll do it at like between 4 and 4:30. Well,
The
God knows,
procrastination.
yeah, God knows that time rolls around and you're doing something else and you don't really want to, make yourself uncomfortable. So the best
Yep,
thing
the
for me
day's
was
over.
like, yeah, there's no half-assing this. Like if you're going to do it, and this is what I would tell myself, if you're going to do it, you're going to do it full on. So what that looks like now to save you the whole journey is I no longer have to remind myself why I'm doing something. I've lost like 40 pounds And when on days I work out, I get up at 5:30 and usually work out for 2 hours. And that would never have happened before. But one of the huge things that happened during this time is you start hitting these milestones and saying, damn, like I can remember barely being able to run 400 meters. And you guys are going to have to do your own calculations for you Imperial system peoples. But I would barely be able to run 400 meters without dying. And then the next thing you know, you're running 900 meters and then a kilometer without stopping. And you're like, well, frig, what else can I do? So I remember, like it was yesterday, having sore as hell legs. Like you just, like I ran a kilometer, which I'd never done before in my life. And then the next morning, I remember it so clearly. I'm like, you know what? I'll give my legs a rest. I won't go out today. I'll do it tomorrow. And then that book flashed into my mind. I'm like, you're going to do what? Like, you're going to wimp out because your legs are a bit sore and you're going to do it
Yeah, like
tomorrow?
you're gonna let yourself down.
Yeah. You're
Yeah,
going
what
to
did we come all this way for?
you're going to wimp out? Is that what we're going to do here? Like, you've come this far, like a couple months in, and now you're going to start taking shortcuts? And then I was like, oh my gosh. Um, I was like, no, I'm not. And I was like, I hate this. I don't want to do it. Rolled out of bed, put on my shoes, went out and ran 1.5 kilometers straight. Like, oh, damn. Okay. Now
I bet
what?
you were proud of yourself every single time when you were done, though.
Oh, every time. Every time. And that's the thing. You have to do things that will give you a reason to be proud of yourself. And I think we all need that at some degree. Like, I needed it when I was, what not was, because I'm still doing it. But when I first started, I needed to do things. I needed to like push myself and see, okay, what can you actually do? And then you start putting these achievements in the drawer, right? And then you can start recalling that. And it all builds up into just a mountain of milestones and a mountain of obstacles. And so I ran 1.5 kilometers. And I kid you not, 3 days later, I ran 2.5 without stopping. And that was, I wanted to die because, like, oh my gosh, that was definitely pushing one's body to the limit. I didn't want to walk. And fast forward to now, I added some like weightlifting and stuff into there, and trying to get my nutrition on track is still actually very tough. But I know I can do it if I just put my mind to it. Actually, but now I run 5 kilometers straight without stopping, and I go on like 10 kilometer runs / walks and working on my sprinting. But this is all to an end. Like, joining the army is my goal. And so when you break that down, you can break it down into smaller chunks, and you can apply this to whatever you're doing. But breaking that down means, okay, I need to do 19 push-ups. I need to do 19 sit-ups at the absolute minimum. So that gives you something to work forward to. And now you can put a plan in place. Okay, well, I'm going to do 40 push-ups a day. And you can actually do that. If you don't think you can do very much, you can do more than you think. It's just going to take some work. And the work happens in your mind. But you don't actually have to do these things all at once. You can spread them out. So I do 10 in the morning, 10 at lunch, 10 at night, whatever the case. And so breaking your larger goal down into smaller, more manageable goals is ultimately how you will achieve that bigger goal. But if you don't even try to break it down and you sit there and you think, no, this goal is way too big for me, I'm just going to quit. Well, then you've just totally taken yourself out of the position to win, because that's all you really have to do when you're going towards something is put yourself in a position to win. You don't even necessarily have to win that thing. You don't have to become the best writer. You don't have to become the best narrator, but you at least have to do yourself a favor and put yourself in a position to actually achieve that and give yourself a chance, because you'll be
This
surprised.
podcast is really deep.
Yo. Yeah. Yeah, no, I think we've been through this long enough now that when I get going
I
on
like
stuff
it
like
though,
that.
man. I love deep conversations. Like,
Oh,
I,
same,
I'm
man.
I'm straight up vibing with this right now, even though I'm kind of just letting you run right now. But I mean, I'm vibing with it.
No, I appreciate it. I know it's been a bit long winded here. Um, but yeah, so and it doesn't end. So you also have to be careful of, and you have to talk to yourself like, okay, what happens when I achieve this goal? You know, you have to make sure you're doing it for the right reasons. And if you need to set another goal, then set another goal. For me, when I join the military, I'm going to have to set new goals because I've already hit the biggest goal of my life. But along the way, you'll start being able to create different goals. So for me, that would probably look like run 10 kilometers in under X minutes or something like that. Um, do X push-ups in a certain time frame. And it's going to look different for everybody. But try to have something that you can maintain. And it could be simply maintain these specific things and don't let yourself fall below that standard. Um, and just do it.
Yeah, I mean,
I think that's
the
it.
more you do something, the easier it's going to get to. By the way, that was all like really motivational. Like that was some good shit. But you know, everything gets easier the more you do it. Like when I started YouTube, okay, I just really wanted to be known for something. Like I was always one of those people. I gave up on everything that I ever went for. I never stuck with anything for too terribly long. Besides BMX, I stuck with BMX pretty heavily. And again, you know, I still am into it to some extent. But I just really wanted to be known for something, and I would get down on myself for not hitting milestones, for not doing this, for not doing that. And it's because I was looking at the big picture. Like when I made my channel, it's like I need to hit 1K this week. And in most scenarios, unless you get really lucky, it's not going to happen. And you know, I was posting 10-minute videos a week, and it would take me 6, 7, 8 hours to make a 10-minute video. And it was I'm not gonna say it was draining, but it was like I was doing everything I could and, you know, not really getting the growth that I wanted, which was disappointing for me. And, I don't know, like, something that people ask me all the time is, "How do you post an hour-long video every other day?" And I don't know, it's like I almost feel like if I was in a better headspace, if things were a little bit different, I could probably do more. And that's because I've been doing this for so long that I have it down to a science. I know how to do things at this point. Um, you know, an hour-long video only takes me if I don't mess around at all, if I just go straight through it, no breaks, I don't stop, I don't, you know, get up for anything, I can bang out an hour-long video in 3 hours. You know, it's about an hour 15 for the recording, about an hour 45 for the editing.
Hmm.
Because you know, I listen to everything back, edit out all the mistakes, put all the timestamps and stuff. You know, it's gotten down to the point where like, you know, I'm not gonna say I don't work hard because I feel like I definitely do,
Oh,
but it's just
100%.
I've done it so many times, like the repetition is there. I don't have to think about, "Oh, how do I splice this into this? How do I fade this song into this song? How do I do this? How do I do that?" No, I know how to do all of it. And, you know, that's why I find myself, especially as of late, trying to find other things, like little things in my audio editing to make it sound more natural, to make it sound better. I always try and improve, like, at least once a week, I try and find something that'll make my videos subtly better. And over time, you know, instead of just trying to make that perfect video right off the bat, you know, there's progression. You can go back to my older stuff and it is leagues worse than what I'm doing now. And
Hmm.
you can notice that trend going all the way up. Like if you start from the beginning of my catalog and made it all the way up, you would notice subtle little things each video going all the way that make the video have more substance, a little bit better, a little bit more clear. Um, and it's just because I've learned that, you know, I didn't need to just create a channel and start uploading hour-long videos every other day. No, work at your own pace. It took me a while to figure out how to make those 10-minute videos as quickly and efficiently as possible because it was very limited for me at that time, and I got better with it, and then eventually it was minute videos every 3 days, and, um, you know, then it was an hour-long video every 3 days, and then it was this, and then it was that, and, you know, now we're just at where we're at, and it was all gradual. It was all something that built up over time. It's not something that I've been doing the whole entire time, and I think that's where people get demotivated. Um, just to use myself as the example, when people say, "How do you upload an hour-long video every other day?" I just explained it. It's just because it's something I've been doing for so long, I know how to do it at this point. And you shouldn't feel bad about yourself for not knowing how to do it yet, because if you work hard enough, there will come a point where you can manage something like that, and you can probably even do better than me because I'm not that great. Like I it took me forever. It takes me forever to figure out the smallest of things. I'm not, you know, this grand problem solver. It's trial and error, and I think that's just where people really start to doubt themselves. And it it shouldn't be that way, because I definitely didn't start off knowing what I was doing. When I started off, I had no clue what anything was. I would look at Sony Vegas and be like, "This is impossible." And now I look at Sony Vegas like, "Wow, this is like some baby editing software. Like this is
Oh yeah.
nothing." You know what I mean?
Oh
Like
yeah.
it's all so simple. It's just, "Oh, you splice this, add this effect, blah 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 blah, easy." You know?
You gotta
Um
you gotta put the reps in, and you gotta give yourself a chance. Give yourself more credit, um, and then let. I guess it's almost a bit weird to say, but let yourself prove yourself to yourself. You know what I mean? Like, do
yeah,
something
exactly.
that you think is hard just so you can prove to yourself that you can do it. And that's pretty much what's been accompanying me throughout my weight loss journey and the journey to joining the military. Now that I've been doing it since October, I no longer have to remind myself not to quit. I think it was like 2 weeks in, I changed my phone background to I made it because I think I wanted to make it rather than just copy what someone else created and then make that my own. So I actually made just a plain black and white wallpaper that said "Just don't quit." So when I wake up in the morning and I roll over to check the time, the first thing I see when I don't want to get out of bed is "Just don't quit." Just stick with it. And now that I've been doing it for so long and I've conquered all these different things, I think it was a few days ago, I actually removed that because I don't need that reminder anymore. I'm on a roll, I'm in a groove. I know who I am now, I know where I'm going. I've got myself this far. I no longer need to rely on some outer source of motivation just to get up in the morning. Now, sometimes I do. There are some times where I would love to rather just lay in bed and sleep. But I also know that if I get up and I go for that 5 kilometer run and I feel terrible at the end, I also feel great. Not physically necessarily, but mentally. Because not everybody's running, not everybody's getting up early to put themselves through something like that. And so that fuels me for the next time. But if you didn't, for example, just decide to fire up your editing software and learn how to at least navigate the menus, and then figure out how to record audio, and then after that, once you've got that down, how to add reverb, how to remove sound, how to equalize. If you never gave yourself the chance to learn that, then you'd just be stuck where you are, and then stuck feeling the same things, stuck
Yep.
whining to yourself about your weight, stuck whining to yourself about how you know, can't edit audio as well as the next guy. But you just got to give yourself that opportunity.
I think, comparing there's such a thin line between comparing yourself with somebody in a healthy way and comparing yourself with somebody in a very toxic way.
Mm.
You can compare yourself with somebody like, "Oh man, they're so much better at this thing than me," and be down about it, or you could look at that and be like, "Hey, I know that this is possible now. So let's see what I can do, and um, try and do this in my own way, and I just do things better than you're currently doing." And that's all it really takes, is just always like the subtle growth, instead of looking at that giant picture. Like I said, for most of 2019, I just really wanted to hit 100K.
Yep.
And what I should have been doing is just bettering my craft, just enjoying where I'm at and having fun with it. And like I said, there's nothing wrong with looking forward to milestones, but if I'm going to look forward to a milestone, like right now I'm at 70K, instead of looking forward to 100K, let's have some fun trying to get to 75, And then when I hit
Yeah,
75, let's have some fun trying to hit 80, cuz that'll be a lot more satisfying rather than, oh man, I hit 75, but it's still not 100. And
exactly.
it's I mean, I'm just using that as a metaphor for really anything. Uh it's not a healthy way of looking at it.
No, that's so true. And then you can start experimenting and trying different things while you reach that next goal. Um, there was something that Miss Mad Hat said, and I want to pull it out real quick. If I can find it. Oh,
Something else too is somebody else's success will not deter you from yours. And I think that's one of the most important pieces of advice is focus on what you're doing. Focus on what you've achieved. Where did you start? Where are you now? Where do you want to be a year from now? If you have that same growth from the past year that you've been doing what you're doing, and you keep on steadily progressing at that rate for the next year, will that put you where you want to be in a year? Uh, Life is short, but when you look at just a year isn't too terribly long. So I think a lot of people they'll look at that year and be like, oh, it's going to take a whole entire year to do this, and I mean, yeah, it might take a whole entire year, but you have a whole entire another 40 or 50 years to enjoy that success and how hard you worked for that one year. And, don't think that it's just going to stop right there. You're going to have to continue working hard if you want to maintain whatever it is that you're trying to succeed in or whatever you have succeeded in. Nobody just reaches success and gets to just lay down and not do anything anymore. No, you have to maintain it. And maintaining is just as difficult as obtaining. And I don't know, it's just the way things work.
yeah, and that's not to say that, once you hit your goals, you'll then start to hate your life because now you've got even more work to do. But once you hit like 100,000 or 500,000 or a million, and if you keep your perspective right, and if you stay grounded and remind yourself of where you came from, that in itself will be motivation to keep working even harder. I found the message, and it says, I get that feeling all the time with my work. Like it's too easy work to do. I don't feel like I'm worth what people pay me. I don't know why people like me so much. I always pull myself out of it, but um, yeah, that's so true, and that hit home to me with me because that's how I feel about everything. Why do people listen to me? Why do people, support my web projects and support my channel and I feel like if you let yourself kind of just stay in that mindset, it's going to make things really bad for yourself. So you got to like catch that. And I think once you get to know yourself, you can see, okay, I'm spiraling down this thought process, this pattern. I need to get out of it. And actually, a few things that I've noticed that help me get out of this pattern of self doubt and imposter syndrome and all that stuff is to literally talk with someone about it. It could be anybody. The closer that you can get to the work that you do, like I'm in IT. I don't have a professional background, but I just liked working with computers, and I guess I talked a good talk and talked my way into a job where mostly everybody has years of experience and a degree. Now, I'm not necessarily held to the same standards by any case, but I'm still, and to myself, I'm still held to some standard, at least within. So I constantly feel like I would never be able to fit in with these guys because they've all got IT experience. They've all been here for years. They're in the union. I'm only contract. And what I've found is if I can talk with a coworker about it, even if they're at the same level as me in the same position, and even if all they can do is relate, then that helps me. I've also found that just talking with it with someone else and getting it off your chest is very helpful for me. That's probably why like therapists are a thing, because just talking about stuff is great. I have
Well,
a couple
in
of,
most cases, there's no linear way to get to somewhere.
yeah.
Just because you don't have a degree doesn't mean you're not just as qualified. Because, while everybody else was studying in school, you might have been studying on your own. And, there's many different ways to get to the same position. And it's unfortunate that maybe some businesses and maybe some of this and maybe some of that won't look at it that way.
Hmm.
But I mean, if you can prove yourself, I feel like you can bypass a lot of the mainstream ways of achieving something.
For sure. I'm very blessed to be where I am right now. But there are many times where I'm like, I don't belong here. I know that if I had, I would say necessarily the opportunity, but the drive, you could receive additional training, because then that would increase your confidence in what you're doing, obviously. And then in the end, just giving it time and adjusting to your surroundings, adjusting to your job, adjusting to what you're doing, and on the side also reminding yourself that you do belong here. You got this job, you got this thing, obviously because someone sees value in what you do. And you have to keep constantly reminding yourself of that. And then once you forget it, I think you can fall back into that spiral. But that's why you just got to keep that in the back of your mind, that you got to where you are through determination and because people believed in you. And so just give it time. And I think at least that self doubt and imposter syndrome will go away. But like I said, unless you live in a hobbit hole and you don't talk to anybody, I think we'll all deal with it. We just got to make sure that we're dealing with it in a healthy way.
I've always had this outlook, right? Okay, so say somebody wants to be a narrator, okay? A YouTube horror narrator, just to be more specific. Um, Being a YouTube horror narrator is as easy as posting a narration. There you go. You've done it. You are now a YouTube horror narrator.
Congratulations.
Uh, yep, that's all it takes. That's all it takes. There you go. You've done it. Now, how successful you're going to be, how good you're going to be at it. Now that all depends on the work that you put in. And self-doubt is the number one thing that will kill that dream. So, it's like we've said, just the gradual growth. The okay, so this thing about my video, a few people complained about it. Let's find a way to perfect that. And then you'll pick up on other things like, oh hey, there's a little bit too much echo in my audio, let's find a way to get rid of that. And over time you'll just get better and better and better. And then 6 months down the line, a year down the line, however long it takes you to get good with it, you'll have people coming to your channel and being like, wow, this is really good quality and you're really awesome at this. And how am I just now finding this channel? And that's the type of stuff that needs to be worked for. It's not something that's just going to fall into your lap, but it's all about just what you've done to obtain it. And it's nothing is as hard as it looks if you just go into it easy instead of
Mhm.
just trying to get everything at once.
Yeah. If
It's
you're
like if
like
you want to
me,
be a
it's
writer
hard.
and you're
Mm.
just like, "Oh, hey, I'm going to be the most famous writer on earth." I that's a little bit of a high goal. I'm not saying it's not possible because somebody has to be, right? But maybe start trying to get your first publish and work towards that goal. Or maybe just your first goal could just be writing down one page. I mean, it could be something that small. Setting a goal of writing for 20 minutes each day, just something along those lines. And eventually you'll get better and better and better. Next thing you know, you might be writing for 2 hours a day, and you're not even thinking that much of it because now it's just routine. It's something that you like doing. And next thing you know, you've got this book, and maybe it will get published, and then you can start working on another, and then over time, you'll gain that reputation. Uh, we live in a time, man, where there's so many overnight successes. Like, you might see a YouTube channel just pop out of nowhere, and they just blow up right away, 100K in a week. And then you look at that and you get down on yourself. Don't get down on yourself. Look at that and be like, "Oh, hey, that's possible." And, if that's if growth is what you're going for, find a way to make that happen for you. But don't make that the main goal.
Yeah.
Just work on the little things, and over time, something like that could happen for you as well.
Yeah, you gotta break it down into chunks, like you were saying about the publish. What could you do? Well, you could, the easiest thing right now, at least in our realm of things, is you want to be a writer, you want to publish something. You got to practice, receive feedback. Yeah, I think you'd be a little naive to say, well, I did X for so many years, I can just go publish, unless you're like super professional at it. But upload to Reddit. You know, commit to writing one story under 5,000 words, 4,000 words a week, and upload it, and then do that for 3 months. You know what? Not even that. Do it for the first month. So you're really uploading 4 stories, and then do it again, and then again, and then you can start saying, well, okay, I've done that. I've incorporated
Yeah, you've got
some.
a general understanding of, how to string words together and how to do
Yeah,
this and how to do that.
yeah.
And
You get better, right? You get better at stringing sentences together and getting feedback on your writing. And by now, you've probably made some adjustments. And now you could say, well, okay, what's next? Well, I don't think I'm ready to publish a book yet, but maybe I'll write a novella, or maybe I'll write, a 15,000, 20,000. I think that's the length of a novella anyway, story, and I'll upload that, and I'll see where that goes. If people really like it, then maybe I'll think about, outlining a book, a small book, and then just take it in chunks, but don't expect to be like, okay, I'm going to be a writer, and then going and writing um, some book. Like that just doesn't happen in my eyes. No, not even in my
well,
eyes.
yeah,
It just doesn't
that
happen.
that feedback can be really, really healthy too because, if you just start off writing short stories on Reddit and, you find out what people like, what pops off, what doesn't. You get a general understanding of all of that type of stuff. And then, you might someday down the line just write a full entire book and it could be famous. It could be adapted into a movie. But you can't look at that as your first goal. It's something that builds over time. And I think it's okay to have that in the back of your mind. That someday I'm gonna be the best writer. As long as you don't let that consume you, as long as you don't let that become your main focal point. But in my opinion, I think it's better to just try and be the best writer that you can be, the best drawer that you can be, the best narrator that you can be. Uh, and people will respect that. And even if you're not the biggest or the most famous, um, you'll have people that respect you. And that can be enough to achieve whatever accomplishment it is that you're trying to gun for.
All in small steps, baby steps, and at least you'll be able to look back on tangible things and remind yourself how you got to where you are, and that will at least help stay off that self-doubt train. But you know what, Slumber?
Hello.
I'm pretty much all talked out, I think.
I think same. I feel like I've kind of repeated myself unintentionally a couple times, so
Yeah. Well, not yeah, as in yes, you did, but yeah, I'm feeling the same.
yeah, I
So,
think I think we definitely got it down. I wasn't really memeing this episode, which is kind of a bummer for me, but I love deeper conversations, man. That's my thing right there.
you know what?
So
Me too. You can have me for a glass of orange juice and some long, deep conversations on a beach, and that's about it. I'm not hard. I'm not a hard person to please in that sense. Just give me that orange juice and a walk on a beach with a deep
why orange
conversation.
juice?
I like it.
Oh, okay. Well,
I mean, a
that's a
little
good
bit of
enough
orange
reason, I
juice.
guess.
There's a lot of sugar in orange juice, so you got to be careful. So just a little bit.
Nah.
Oh, just a little.
All of the orange juice.
Oh. But yeah, I think we had a good episode, and I hope you listening to the podcast. I hope you learned something. And if you didn't learn anything, I hope we can relate on some level. And thank you all for watching live, because that's how we do things. So I think we're going to end it because I feel like the conversation has kind of come to its natural conclusion where talking about,
Full circle.
yeah, I feel like talking about anything now would just be repeating ourselves and dragging it on longer than it necessarily had to. So thank you very much for joining. I love seeing you guys in the chat. I love seeing your listeners and the analytics. It's nice to know that people are enjoying what we're putting out. So thank you very much for supporting us by listening, um, for joining us live in the live stream recording. If you'd like to listen to the podcast person or podcast person, the podcast version,
Persons.
yes. If you, the person, would like to listen to the podcast version, you can find it actually on, nope, not Stitcher. That was my YouTube channel. You can find it on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify, where there will actually be compression and normalizing to this audio and some noise reduction. So you get a peak audio experience. So if you'd like that, head on over and give us a shout over there. I'd also like to encourage you. I know I don't do this often, but if you're not subscribed, consider subscribing if you like these kinds of conversations. By no means will we hate you if you don't. We do
Yes, we
know who
will.
you are. We know who you are. I'm just kidding. We actually don't. But no. What I was gonna say is, if you really enjoy this show, it would mean the world to me, at least, probably to Slumber, if you leave us a review where you can, whether it be on YouTube, leaving us a nice comment that we do read. At least I read, actually. Uh, or like on iTunes. Like, let people know that we put out some good content, and I think we've made it 10 episodes and we're not canceled yet, so I think we're doing pretty good for that. Um, with all that,
Shocking.
yeah. With all that said,
No.
I'm surprised we haven't said anything uh, offensive. But without all that said, I just want to thank you guys
What?
again for joining,
No, I'm just kidding.
and we will see you next Friday for a topic yet to be discussed. So, thanks again, and we'll see you next week. Stay frosty.
Good night, everyone.
I'm not going to drag this part out. You guys have definitely, like, you've been talking amongst yourselves with this, which is great, having some great insights and some great conversations, which is awesome. I feel like you guys are starting to form your own little community, which I love to see. So,
It's a community
yeah,
within a
man.
community
It's a community within a community. Just a bunch of
within a
supportive
community.
people. Yeah. Communiception.
You
That came
good?
out of nowhere. Yep, I'm good.
You know, whenever I get hiccups, I get really scared because there's been a few times where I've gotten the hiccups and had them for like a full day or two.
Why?
I don't know. When my friend from LA came to visit,
Mm-hmm.
I got the hiccups and I had them for 2 days straight, and it was just like the joke the whole entire time. They would not go away. Like, we did everything. Like, it became the biggest meme, and I still had the hiccups.
Well, you know what? I don't think that's happening now, which is good. Which
You're
is
gonna
good.
have the hiccups for a full day.
Nah, man, look, I'm already done.
Nope,
Communiception.
it's gonna happen.
Yes, I did say it first. Haha. This is my territory. Um, yeah, you know what? I'm gonna be straight up honest with you guys. It's 10:30, and I really want to play Rocket League. And if I wait any longer, I'm probably gonna suck. So, and plus, I'm
He's leaving
thirsty.
you guys.
Yeah,
He said he doesn't care.
I'm leaving you guys for the video games, the drink, and the bed. I'm starting to
I
get a
feel
bit
that
tired.
though.
We always run them a bit late. I like it though. It's nice to be able to just hang out and have a conversation. But now my throat's actually starting to get a little bit tight, which means I have been talking way too much.
Yeah, it's like we always kind of wonder, like, will we hit that hour? But we never have a problem doing it.
Oh,
Yeah, I hear you, man. I got a few things I want to do. I think my dog needs to go out, so
Do you want to end it?
yeah, I guess we might as well. I mean, unless you want to do like a
I mean,
short Q&A or something, it's totally your call.
literally, do you want to end it? We have our disclaimer. Remember?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Anything we've said this episode is purely opinions, and we do not have the answers. We do not claim to be the gospels of truth. We are just two dudes on the internet talking about random shit. And if you vibe with it, that's cool. If you can uh, transfer it into your own way, that's awesome. If you've learned anything, that's dope. And if you totally disagree with us, that's okay too, because I probably wouldn't agree with me on anything if I wasn't me. So,
Amen. I was gonna say something and now I forget. Well, at least I had fun in my head, knowing what I was gonna say and forgetting it. Yeah.
I hate
So
it when that happens.
yeah. Anyway, I don't care anymore. It's 11:30 or 10:30. Throat's getting sore. I think I need to go. Oh yeah. Start stretching. Um,
Yeah, go deal with those hiccups that'll be there until the end of the
you
weekend.
shut your dirty mouth. They won't come. Okay. Well, yeah. Thanks for joining us once again. And if you guys have like a topic that you want us to talk on, head us up on Twitter at dark_sessions. So yeah, if you have something you want us to talk about, maybe a hot take, go and go tag us on there so we can see that. But until then, until next time, thank you very much for joining this live stream of Dark Sessions episode 10. We'll see you in episode 11 next Friday, 9 p.m. Eastern. Don't be late, okay? Like, for real, don't be late, because you'll
Yeah,
literally,
set those
yeah,
reminders.
yeah, alarms, all of that. Just no. Okay. Have a good night, everyone. I'll see you next week.
Catch you guys later.
Goodbye.